Welcome to the HR Happy Hour Work Break. You are here with Trish and Steve. Hey, Steve Bose. How are
Hey,
you?
Trish. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Steve, would you rather, ready for this? Would you rather vomit every time you see the color brown or have to sneeze 10 times whenever you are touched?
Oh man, vomiting is pretty much the worst. I go with the sneezing probably because I do as a
Really?
rule. Yeah, and that's as a rule, Trish. I like to limit the amount of touching. To be honest with you, that happens in my life. I'm not a fan of hugging. I'm not a fan of
Exactly.
handshaking. The one bright spot of the pandemic to me, Trish, is this random casual physical contact, like the high fives, the handshakes, the hugging the stranger kind of thing, all going away, hopefully for good. So I'll go with the sneezing.
Right.
What would you pick?
You know, I would pick the sneezing as well, but I was wondering, I almost thought that one would get you the other direction because I know you hate to be touched. So
I hate it. I just discourage
neither
it.
one is good.
Probably.
Let's just say that. Neither of those options is a good one. So anyway, hey, listen, I am so sorry we didn't do a work break yesterday, but it was busy.
It's been a busy week. It's funny that we're leading up to Labor Day weekend, right? Which, that's another whole Labor Day thing. But yeah,
Right.
you think maybe have a quiet week, maybe up to kind of the final weekend of the summer, quote unquote. But no, it's been a crazy, busy week for sure. But
yeah. Well, I know you've had a lot of meetings. I've had a lot of meetings. I actually had a new blog post go live both on trishmcfarland.com and h3hr.com.
You have a blog?
It's a little. I do have a blog.
Oh, nice.
And it was one I wrote that's sponsored by DoorDash, but it's not about their information whatsoever. So it's just my take on some of the things you can be doing to take care of yourself a little more, take care of your team a little more. So that's out there. What do you have going
on? Just keeping busy. A lot of HR tech stuff going on. We're inside of a month before HR tech in Vegas. Lots of moving parts for that. Working on some other projects. I have a webinar coming up with our friends at Paycoms next week.
Oh.
Yeah, on employee experience and technology, and using technology to your advantage to kind of in a very tight labor market. So I'll get to mix in some of my labor market stuff. I'll have to get that out on. I've been tweeting it. I put it on LinkedIn as well. I'm doing it with Dickon Zaberg from Paycom, who's pretty awesome, and we'll be doing that next week. So I'm preparing for that. Yeah, lots of stuff. So yeah, it's been a good week. I'm looking forward to the Labor Day weekend though. Trish, Labor Day weekend is a great holiday weekend because it's kind of picnics and cookouts. And it's the one kind of holiday too that I think, right, people don't guilt trip you online about, hey, the true meaning of this holiday is this. It's not about, cooking out and celebrating and, fireworks.
That's
right?
probably fair.
You generally don't get guilt shamed over Labor Day weekend. You should be solemnly thanking the workers of America instead of, having hot dogs and watching baseball.
You need to solemnly thank me. I feel like I am the true worker here.
You represent the workers of America?
I'm representing workers of America right now. It's been busy. I've been busy.
Speaking of work though, Trish, there was news earlier in this week. UKG, Trish, the software company that you know as well as I do, announced they are acquiring the Great Place to Work company.
I know.
That's well known for the Great Place to Work lists and some other things that they do.
That's right.
I don't know what I think about that exactly, but I was kind of curious, right? Because a pure software company making a play in that direction. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what you thought about it.
What I like about it is that Great Place to Work is really all about helping organizations become better and really understanding your people. And I mean, obviously, this goes back to even before the UKG became UKG, right? When it was still Kronos and Ultimate. I think they've always been really, really focused on people. Remember, they used to have the people first and all that sort of thing. So to me, it makes sense. Yeah, to me, it makes sense that you would have Great Place to Work be part of that in terms of driving the strategy maybe to that next level. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. They have a big analyst event in December, so we'll learn a lot more. We'll probably
I'm gonna tell the story and leave out a couple parts of it, and I'm only gonna tell it because I think all the people, the individual people involved, are probably no longer around at Great Place to Work. But I learned the hard way a number of years ago, Trish, that great place to work is not a generic phrase. They've actually trademarked that. And so if you kind of you would think it's such every word is one syllable. They're all very common words. Great place to work. Everybody understands that as a generic phrase, right? Oh, yeah, where do you work? Oh, I work at Acme Company. Oh, that's a great place to work. Like, you think that's how I always thought about it. Well, I found out the hard way, let's just say, that the great place to work people, at least back then, and probably still, take that phrase very, very seriously. So my advice to anyone, just don't bandy about that phrase casually. Okay. The great place to work police will come after you and make things unpleasant, which they did for me. So hopefully, I'm going to let that's in the past though. And I think the folks involved are no longer around. So there you go. Right.
They are now absorbed into something bigger, right? So, hey, listen, I read a really good story I wanted to run by you. I was reading the Huffington Post yesterday and came across this story. I'm going to put the little banner up here. So
Ariana, what's up?
So it's sort of two things. I was reading a story first about how a guy who lived in Pittsburgh, he was never really into Mr. Rogers, but then when he had kids, became a dad, he really got into Mr. Rogers and kind of, just everything good about Mr. Rogers and what you learn from him and about empathy and about caring and about, just treating people fairly and so forth. So he and his daughter invited Mr. Rogers for dinner. Okay. And it turns out that it was toward the end of Mr. Rogers' life. Like, no, he wasn't public with his illness, apparently, but there was no way, like, they didn't hear from him for a few months. And it coincided with, like, the end of Mr. Rogers' life. They got a letter from him, basically very personalized, like, oh, thank you so much for the invitation, but obviously I couldn't come. I'm, very sick, blah, blah, blah. So it got me to thinking, like, two things. And I'm putting up this link because this was the other story that was kind of like suggested reading with it, about using children's books and children's themes to teach even adults, right? Okay. So I put up this link because this is, if you're thinking about whether it's yourself or your team members or whatever, maybe instead of some of the traditional ways we train ourselves, let's think a little bit like Mr. Rogers, right? It gets to people, it relates, we can all relate to kids' books. So anyway, my question for you though is, if you could just invite someone to dinner, because everyone thought this guy was crazy, like, you don't just invite Mr. Rogers to your house. He will never come. But see, it turns out he would have if he wasn't sick. Who would you invite over? Like, think big. Like, I'm just like, it could be anybody, any type of person. Like, is there someone that you would just like invite over?
Tough one. Yeah, gosh. Like maybe like a Malcolm Gladwell. He seems super interesting. He's written a lot of great books. Like, and he's a bit of a sports guy because I've heard him on some sports podcasts as well. I'd go that way. I mean, it's a hard question. You really want to think about it some, but that's a name that popped into my head. So how about you have someone in mind?
Well, I do, but it's not for me. So my daughter loves Daryl Hall. And I feel like if we just invited Daryl over, come over, I don't know, maybe sing one song, right, for it. No, just come over, have dinner, visit. I would love to sit around and just hang out with Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates.
Okay, that's a good one. I like it. Yeah.
No, but I mean, when you think about it, I wonder if you reached out to Malcolm Gladwell. Maybe it's not dinner, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic. He's not going to just come to your house. But, is that something where you would be like, I would love to just get on a phone call with you, do a podcast with you, right? I think you should reach out to
All right, I'll work on that. I just heard him recently. He's got a new book about the Air Force in World War II and how they had to figure out how to appropriately fly the Air Force missions. And it was pretty interesting. I didn't read the book yet, but I listened to him talk about it. It sounded pretty interesting. Trish, we must mention, since we didn't do the show yesterday, our new HR Happy Hour show dropped on Tuesday. It's on neurodiversity in the workplace with Ed Thompson from a company called Optimize. And it was super interesting. It's kind of another one in the ongoing series of shows we've done over the last couple of years about creating more open, welcoming, and inclusive workplaces. Right. I know Sarah Morgan does a great job for as well on her podcast that runs on the network too. But we're focusing on this in a big way for the last couple of years, and we'll continue. So check out that show anywhere you get your podcast. I was really pleased with how that one turned out.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're going to start doing even more on neurodiversity because we're finding it's like you just start uncovering more and more people who have stories of different kinds of, situations they've been in, whether it involves them or someone they were trying to hire. So it's just really resonating, I think, with everyone, and it goes
Yeah.
along with our research too. We've been doing a
Mhm.
lot of research on accessibility and neurodiversity and really how to make a difference there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's something too that an HR professional or a business professional in general could really make a huge impact in your organization if you focus on that a little bit.
One last thing for me, because I think this is like our last show of the summer probably, right? We're still,
Oh, yes.
right? Summer.
Yep.
We got to talk about this. Are we going back to end of summer Fridays after Labor Day? I guess we'll have to discuss that. But
Let's talk
I
about
want to
it.
get this one out there before it gets too old. People should not care so much about who the host of Jeopardy is. That's it. That's my statement. I don't want to talk. I'm not going to read the rest of the story. It doesn't matter who the host of Jeopardy is. Stop caring so much about it.
Something though, this is not specific to Jeopardy.
Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Jeopardy is a good example of this, but for anything like that, where there's been a big search, there are certainly some standout favorites. In this case, where your fans, like your show fans, they have a favorite, why not just hire that person? Like, why are we going through all these hoops to not hire the one that your clients, the customers, want? Like, I don't understand. Like,
What I don't understand is the amount of consternation and wringing of hands and clutching of pearls over who the next host of I don't understand that. It's not who the next president's going to be. It's not who the next quarterback on your favorite football team is going to be. It's not, the next leader of, the World Bank or, all right. Stop caring about it.
It's just something where, like anything else, like a president, like a favorite quarterback, it's something where if you are that invested, that's a way you get release, watching a show, whatever. And then again, I think it's because the fans feel like they're not being heard. I really don't care who it is.
Good. You shouldn't. No one should care. That's my
But
point.
I feel like if all of your fans are telling you to lean one way, why not just do that to make fans happy, right? I mean, if the HR happy hour and work break fans start telling me like Steve is out, we need somebody else.
I'm out.
You are out. I mean, I'm listening to the fans. They need to tell me who they need next to me.
Put me out of my misery. Last thing for me, TSA update. Mask will be required on planes, trains, and airports until at least January of 2022, Trish.
Yeah.
Keep that mask in your backpack. That's my advice to you.
I know. Where I live, it's back in the stores and restaurants and everything now. So.
All right. I'm out. Trish. I'm out of material.
All right. Good. Well, have a good rest of your day, my friend. And to all of our friends online, thank you as always for listening to us, putting up with Steve. I mean, it's all good. Have
Happy
a great
Labor Day weekend.
Happy Labor Day weekend, everyone.